None of the following should be taken as business, investment, legal, or tax advice. Enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome to the Swap Space podcast. I am your host, Turpal. Today we have Konstantin from Bemo Finance. We're going to be talking about a lot of things today, mainly about Bemo, what it is, what liquid staking is, and how TON is doing right now, because that's an interesting topic, especially with the interview released by Tucker Carlson with Paul Durov after his recent release from the prison, and all things social and whether there is freedom of speech or monitoring of your all socials and stuff like that. So, Konstantin, welcome. Glad to have you here. How are you feeling?
Doing great. Thanks for having me here. I'm super happy to chat all over these topics above mentioned.
Yeah, that's going to be a blast. We have a recurring theme on a podcast where I usually ask the person who's the guest on a podcast how they got into crypto, what made them stay, what do you like about it most, and what's your overall vision for it?
Okay. So I'm into digital products since 2004 or something. So I'm pretty OG in like digital stuff. Then I got into stock market around 2015, and then I shifted to crypto a few years later on. Those were taxes at most and trading bots in the beginning, but since 2022 I like dived deeply as deep as possible into the DeFi space. I've been behind the Lido on Polkadot, and then there were a few security auditing companies. So I've been jumping on and off crypto. I fully skipped the DeFi summer of 2021, which I like regret. So this time I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, thanks for answering that. Pretty much the usual way you would get into crypto, if you're into anything digital back then. In 2005, I was like 8 years old, so that's quite a lot of experience you probably have around your back there, Konstantin. Another question that I have coming from the other one is, since you were so early into crypto after 2015, did you by chance happen to own any Bitcoin, and what did you do with it?
Not really. I first, if I had, I won't say so, because like we all heard about all these like unlucky events happening mostly in France for some reason. But no, just kidding. I don't do. I totally regret about that, because on one hand, I was aware of something new is coming there about Bitcoin, about Ethereum, but we were just playing around that like any geek guys. I've been working in a digital agency that back in days, it was 2014, I guess, and we were actually like the pizza guy. We were like we were sharing some Bitcoin like as a spare change to like pass some money for like getting office food to order some pizza. Wow. So it was like this. It was like a game or something. No one really cared about like this being a thing that back in days,
because no one would guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could not imagine, which I regret definitely, but I was not smart enough to like start mining and holding that.
It's funny how you say that you kind of regret it, because I mean you basically would have to predict the future 10 years ahead to know something like that. Why do you say that?
No, I mean that could happen. No, like regretting is not that regretting that I'm like waking like in the middle of the night crying and everything. No, I mean that could. I was there. There was that opportunity. When you have this window, you could use that. If I was like born later on, there was no chance. So that's why I'm saying it. There were a lot of like stories about someone mining this just for fun and having this on a hard drive and forgetting about that. Not my case.
Yeah, like that guy who was trying to dig up his hard drive in a garbage pile somewhere in UK. Wow, that's actually quite funny. We recently made a video about James Howell and Laszlo Haniec, the guys that happen to own a lot of Bitcoin, 8,000 and 10,000 retrospectively. So I have a kind of a funny question. What would you do if you were in their position?
You mean losing?
Yeah, imagine you lost like 8,000 Bitcoin, 10,000 Bitcoin. What would happen?
I don't think it will change anything that much, because first, to my mind, it means that you will still keep some part of that pie. And anyways, it's like with ideas. When you see someone developing what you've been thinking of, it's good because you came up with that. You see it working. You can come up with another one. The same here. If once you had something, you can like achieve that other way.
Yeah. And I recently, in the video when I was talking about Bitcoin Pizza Day, I named Laszlo Haniec, the guy who kind of started an economy, especially with Bitcoin. He had a proof of concept and it actually worked. And now it's like a national holiday for all people around the world that use crypto. But do you happen to know any other situation that would also be, in your opinion, the thing that let crypto live and give it, a breath of air? Breath of life.
To my mind, what really drove that adoption is way like behind our eyes, and it's under the hood. It's all the shady markets that started.
Yeah, of course.
that started. That I'm not saying crypto is just only for illegal. Definitely not. But if we think of the very early days where the adoption began, that's where we should look for. It's the very same thing is many other technologies, like why VHS video format dominated over Betacam because of porn. Then the same goes for marketing tech. Very like almost each of the like the bidding technologies, the whatever happens in the marketing space online first was adopted by either bet making or some other like gray zone.
Oh, you're actually right. When you really think about it, that makes a lot of sense, because in the white paper for Bitcoin, it was essentially like cashless peer-to-peer that had no trace on you. Of course, if you didn't go through like a centralized exchange like people do right now, but still the idea gave it life. And it's not its fault that it was used for bad things, just like it's not the fault of a car for it being used to rob a bank, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Crypto anarchy is not about like being necessarily illegal. It's about being like decentralized, no dominance, governance, etc.
Yeah, but it does get a bad rep because of it, of course.
It's just one of like millions of opportunities you get when you have it.
Yeah, and you're not going to get any clicks on your media news if you're talking about some breakthrough innovation that it has not really proven itself or is kind of boring. But what you get clicks on, what you get views on, is things like, oh, this crypto exchange like FTX lost all its money and something bad happened. So I have a question for you. Do you think that the media is doing, crypto overall a service, or is it trying to bury it?
Well, any PR is good PR. So even FTX draw that much attention that could never like happen like many years later on. So despite of the fact like markets crashed, and actually that was like precisely the moment when I got back to crypto. It was beginning of 2022, and it was like a painful moment, but I think it made its part in like spreading the narrative, making people talk about it and think about it. Otherwise, I also love that saying about that when your taxi driver says that you have to buy Bitcoin, then you're gonna dump it right away. So there are two sides of it. But anyway, it provided a great media coverage, which is good.
One thing that I find, something that breaks my mind daily to this day is the fact that people are very unaware of crypto being used for the many bad reasons it's being used for, like pyramid schemes, Ponzi's, whatever, and the scams are still prevalent. I did a video recently, like at the end of December, about some of the most infamous scams that ever happened in the space. And we're here now in June, and so many new scams happened. The Bybit hack, a lot of money that happened to just be locked up in the DeFi space because of all the bridge hacks. But Ronin Force Bridge happened, of course, and it's also bad. And crypto is, of course, the promise that you will never lose all your assets because you can break the blockchain. But what's happening is the attackers and the hackers are breaking people that own the Bitcoin. And what you usually see is, phishing sites, made to prey on your unawareness of these things. So the technology behind blockchain is, of course, immutable, as they say. But what do you think about the lack of education in people and their overall lack of cybersecurity awareness? And what do you make of it?
Well, there are a few parts, and we should break down that question because first, yes, technology, like always, is beautiful, but what actually makes it work is the use case and the people around it. Both sides. It's not just only about the user base. It's not just only about the clients, holders, stakers, etc. It's about the product owners, those who build. So first part about user base is that fun part is that back in the days when I was into stock market and we've been fighting a lot with binary options, with FTX or FX scam and etc. It was surprising to find out that a lot of people understand that they are actually getting into a pyramid scheme. They were just so sure about them particularly being able to hop off at the very appropriate moment. So even there are different sides. So first, users, they could be have lack of knowledge, but they can also be just doing this on their own with just some unhealthy expectations of being ahead of the scammer. Another part is the product, which that learning curve is steep and it's works both ways. So users should be learned and taught, and the product owners, the builders, because that amount of hacks they happen because many of those building do not really understand, let's say, what security audit is and what is it for and why does it cost that much. Being involved into two companies, I can say for sure that it's so the market is crowded there. There are over 100 security auditing companies already in the Ethereum space, and for Ton it's maybe 10 or something about that. But people still is looking for the cheapest option possible first, and they also do believe that there's some kind of certificate that grants you security. But that's not how it works. You can pay. There are some companies that work mostly on marketing and they can provide you with that kind of certificate that says, hey, you're secure, but that does not really provide you any security. So we have to educate not just only the user base, but the builders themselves as well.
Yeah. And you also have to make sure that the builders at least put in a proper vesting schedule for their token, because that has been happening so many times. I've witnessed, I think, over 100 tokens that have rugged because of all the research that I was doing for the videos. And one name in particular came up to me, and I was just flabbergasted by the amount of promotions that this guy did. So, you know the rapper Soulja Boy?
Not really.
Yeah, so he was back in the day, he was a very popular American rapper.
Okay.
And that was the time when promoting crypto on your Insta and Twitter was popular. And he happened to promote over 73 projects that pumped and dumped. Wow. And you would think that his fan base kind of caught up maybe and thought, okay, so this is not working. Clearly I'm losing all my money. But it just keeps happening and it keeps happening, and it's something that I'll never find the answer for. When will it ever be fixed? Moving on to another topic, we have to kind of discuss the scams because, again, it is a fun topic to discuss, of course.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned security auditing companies, and I want to move the topic and the discussion towards more cybersecurity practices, of course. Okay. A recent report made by CertiK shows that a lot of the people that are, especially founders, the ones that are trying to launch any kind of unit economy, tokenomics, they do it in a very bad way. Because again, your token comes out, it instantly dumps, or there are probably like some bad actors behind it.
Okay.
But what can the founder do to thrive in this space? And what are some of the tips that you would probably give to someone if they were listening to this podcast and thinking of like opening a Web3 project, becoming a part of the crypto adoption? What would be the right way for them to do it?
Okay. Yeah. So first, those things are costly because there are like that much like persons or teams capable of delivering that in a sufficient level. The first thing you should acknowledge that you need both the security audit in place and you have to have your tokenomics or unit economics, which is like basically tokenomics in crypto space. Those are completely different parts. There are some teams being capable of delivering both, but to my knowledge, most of them specialize rather in one or another. So if you're looking for the code to be lacking of bugs, which is also a part of audit, it's not just only about like intrusion or hack or something. They could be just simply not working, which is also not good.
Yeah, we're forgetting about the main thing is your product has to work.
Absolutely. And but mostly those companies focus on threats because your code is public, it's blockchain, it's on chain, so anyone can like play around with it as much as he or she wants. So it's mostly about security, but bugs also can be there. So this is one part, and you should be aware that there is that much speed. The amount of lines of codes is a multiplier for the price. So it's like that. AI still is not that good in finding those ways, because if you look into some of like really sophisticated hacks, even humans, there were many hacks that happened in protocols audited and being battle tested for many years. It still could happen because there are new ways, new approach, new mental models coming into the play. So this is one part. Another part is about economics. There definitely are economic hacks. There are like pricing manipulation, your oracles should be in place and secure, everything like that, but it's not about tokenomics necessarily. It's different thing, and there are I mostly know like individuals working in that space. For some reason, not that much like teams focus on that. I think because of this being like really different market. In most cases, those behind a new protocol are already familiar with what they're doing.
Built previously.
Yeah, so that they can craft that part on their own, and they can just pull some additional expertise in a form of a person. So that's my explanation for that. But you should have in place both these and that.
So make sure your security is top notch. Make sure your team is doing a good job on the proper, delivery of a product. And of course, there is another topic that I wanted to pull up, and something that you mentioned also, because again, most of these attacks are psychological. They prey on your unawareness, or maybe like a moment of rush when you're just like trying to make it like a quick click somewhere. So your employees or the team should not ignore like these cybersecurity policies that are put in place. Because I think I heard of a recent attack. I just saw it in the news actually when I was just coming around, and I think it said something got hacked because of an email that came to a developer that was doing a code, and it contained something like, "Oh, your task on Jira is being moved to done," and you would probably think nothing of it. So it's like another work email. It was disguised as a proper email from Atlassian. But what happened is you click on that email, it's a phishing website. You try to log in into that website thinking, oh, it's just a task manager. What can happen? But even then, they can just pull so much info from the company, or log in as that person, send a message, ask for access, and many bad things can happen.
Absolutely.
But, you also mentioned AI. AI is my favorite topic in crypto, because when you combine it with blockchain, it becomes like a ticking time bomb, because most of the projects that I reviewed, and we made a video on that recently, they kind of flopped. They usually happen to have some sort of ChatGPT API that is disguised as this ultimate AI driven trading bot that can make you a billionaire in just one day. I mean, I'm exaggerating,
Okay,
but you get the idea. But what do you think of AI? Have you seen any prominent projects that actually do something good with AI in the space of blockchain and crypto together?
I think we are not there yet, and I am not paying too much attention on that. I think that the first step is, but I understand the direction where it could happen. So the computing power is centralized, and there are some certain project, like let's say Fluence, which provides you a share of that computing power in exchange of like a token or whatever, and that place, that like failure point, which can let, like, let's say, OpenAI to narrow down your request to some limits or put some censorship in place. If your computing power is decentralized, then you can basically, like with the Bitcoin as a like money transfer or paying power, to be utilized in way more different ways. So that is where I see it probably coming, especially when we see the rise of models that require not that much of computing, like the DeepSeek and others. So I think that's where something gonna happen, but I haven't met anything like really disrupting, or at least it's not like publicly available yet.
Yeah, true. Because most of it is usually behind the curtain, doing work on machine learning, analyzing data, which is not the most fun part. You can make a topic of on your article. Hello, media.
Yeah. No, overall, they fit, and I do not treat that as like buzzwords like AI and blockchain. We definitely should stick one into another and see what happens. They really align, because an agent being capable of executing transactions,
especially on the blockchain,
guided by smart contracts, this is a really powerful thing. But the real application, this is where we are still like behind.
Yeah, you're right. We need the next Steve Jobs to come and introduce something that will wipe the face of wipe the smirk off of any skeptical crypto watcher. But another thing that I wanted to mention, because I mentioned the fact that we need the new Steve Jobs, and in this era, in this age, in 2025, that Steve Jobs is Pavel Durov. Well, mostly because people think that TON is going to be the next big thing. You can do so much more on it. It's much better than Ethereum, or take Vitalik, for instance. But I do want to focus the question on TON, especially because a lot of things were said. I could probably not even name all of it in this one podcast, because again, so many headlines, so many conferences, so many presentations were made, but it hasn't really gone anywhere. And the price of TON kind of dips and goes up. Sometimes before it was like around $7, now it's around like $3-4. But what are your thoughts on TON? Because again, you're building on TON, and I'm going to have some questions after that too. Why does it lack delivery, and why does it lack this like star power? Do you think people are like kind of tired of waiting for things to roll out on TON, or maybe I'm just wrong and I don't see it the right way?
So yes, definitely you're right, at least partially, because people are getting tired. And we've observed, like, just during the last few weeks, at least 3 projects announced the shutdown. One trading bot, one like some kind of prediction bot, and a stable coin on TON. But that is normal, actually. So this is market, and yes, the ecosystem is not there. I can elaborate a lot on that, but like in a few words, the ecosystem overall is not there yet to provide a healthy amount of users and a healthy amount of liquidity or TVL to play around for that amount of projects. So the price, the price is playing around like 3 during the last. It's popular to make a joke now about like the TON becoming a stable coin, some kind of. But that's a different thing. You won't ever see the crowd happy about the price.
Yeah, true.
Check like ETH. It's not where most of like degens gonna be happy to see that. Like, I mean, around 10K, which could happen eventually, but it's not there yet. So they are not happy, and they start blaming like foundation, whatever. That's that works in the same way for the whole ecosystem for blockchain. Once it's governed somehow, like Torn or ETH, Bitcoin is just almost the only one where you have no one to blame.
It's like the most popular.
Yeah, that's why the focus is on something healthy there. So about the Ton, first, we've seen a huge amount of work done since the last year. I've been playing with Ton for a few years already, with those like phone numbers, with everything. I didn't participate like personally in the first crowd sale when it was back in 2017, but as a person responsible for listing on a centralized exchange, I was ready to get it on board once it was released, but which didn't happen. So I was keeping an eye on that. And last year, when I had the opportunity to join Ton, I did it like without any hesitation, because I saw that huge spike of protocols, users, everything, like everyone rushing there. Now I understand that there was a shift in timeline for the liquidity to come and for protocols to come. So appearance of Tether on Ton happened way before it should. We had to get everything in place, like the basic DeFi scenarios, tables, staking, lending, DEXs, maybe some aggregators, maybe some yield farming, etc. But at least the first three. And that didn't happen. So all that liquidity was like just lurking for what to do and found nothing. Then some political events happened with Pavel's arrest and everything. And here in 2025, we are in a situation where 8 or 9 DEXs, just only DEXs on Ton, there are 8 or 9. You don't need that much, but they are here, which is cool. And some of them have even joined from other networks, which is absolutely cool. And they are like really profound and teams capable of delivering like really meaningful products. But the liquidity is gone already. So that momentum was lost, and Foundation is doing a lot to spin it up in different ways. They've been trying that with meme coins. It didn't work really. But now with stickers and gifts, it is, but it is not DeFi. So I'm waiting for the next kind of like mini cycle in Ton particularly. And there are some certain signs that at least there is a ground for that to happen, because this year a lot of change in the management of Ton Foundation, and there are some certain persons joining, like Max Crown, let's say, who is already trustworthy, to say least, because Moonpay is something he delivered already, and he understands a lot about payment systems and how to attach all that Visa and MasterCard replacements and deliver the card emission, which is driving the mass adoption like hugely. So this could happen, but it will take time. And okay, I may pause for a little because I may rant on that. Like,
I mean, Ton is. We should like build the whole podcast around Ton, because there's so many things to talk about. But yeah, I think you did a great job of kind of ruling out what the problem was, and I think I fully agree with you. And I might have a solution. But before that, I just want to mention, because you mentioned Moonpay. Sorry, Moonpay is actually one of our partners. So if you wish to exchange your crypto for fiat or vice versa, go over to swapspace.co and just do that, hassle free.
Didn't you? So like totally occasion.
I kind of forget about it too, because we have like over 40 partners, but you get the idea. Yeah, the aggregator works. So where was I? The problem with Ton, again, I think, is the lack of motivation and monetary gain for people that build on it. You kind of have to rely on your product actually doing some sales, making money like that. Or there's Bitcoin, and then there's Bitcoin mining, and I'm kind of surprised that they didn't see the way it works. Again, you didn't have to go on proof of work for mining, but you could essentially have like a limited amount of tokens for especially mining to be nodes for the blockchain, and for that blockchain to thrive. And then that would be a sort of incentive for people to actually go and actually do it, because you have these big players like Ethereum and Bitcoin, and everyone in the world knows it. But then you have Telegram, which has around, it actually like broke its own record. There's like 1 billion users on Telegram.
The most popular like number to share is 1 billion.
And they kind of missed out. They should have used that number of people that use Telegram. Imagine you go on Telegram, you see a quick message, hey, if you want to build on our foundation, be a part of it, you're welcome. Imagine how many people would click on it. Imagine how many people would actually go there and see, okay, there's some incentive for me to make a buck here, because it works with Bitcoin, it works with Ethereum. Well, not so much with Ethereum. I think I saw a meme about Ethereum being a stable coin because in 7 years in a row, it was hitting the same mark of $3,100. But Bitcoin mining works. They have been breaking hash rate record after hash rate record, and they're opening so many new mining rigs all around the world. They're launching new ASICs, and they should have just taken a peek at what the competitor is doing and kind of done that, and not integrated stars into Telegram. I still hate stars. I think it's like the worst thing that happened to Telegram. But
there was a reason for that, but yeah.
Well, you get it. But so many good things could have probably happened, and I think it would have really pushed that crypto adoption. But you're here also with that same task. You're actually trying to bring a new product. And I've kind of kept Bemo Finance in the dark for myself because I wanted to hear it from you. And yeah, I'd love to hear about Bemo Finance first. But you said that you were working on 2 projects, right? What's the other one?
No, I mentioned that I've been behind so it was during my crypto journey. It was Lido, Polkadot, then it was one security company, another security company, and then now I'm like mostly focused on Bemo. It's full-time dedication. Yeah. I definitely have some pet projects, but it's like not what takes time from me.
You're the CEO, so you can't have that courtesy of doing advisory work or having helping out another project.
Yeah, exactly. Advisory is what I do occasionally. Yes.
Consulting. Well, that's great, because again, when you're in a position of a CEO, you kind of have the wheel, and unless you take the right direction, only there can you see success. So what's Bemo Finance? What do you think about it? What are you working on right now? And are you sure that your wheel is spinning to the right direction?
That's a good question. The last part especially. Okay, so Bemo Finance is the first liquid staking protocol on Ton, and one of the oldest actually. It's been a while since Bemo appeared. It's over a year and a half already. And so far, Bemo focuses mainly on that core function for you to be able to come with your tons, provide them to this decentralized protocol, get an LST, which is BM ton now, in return, and then according to your risk appetite, either sit still with it or to play around some DeFi solutions, which luckily we now have on Ton already.
Wow, that's great. But talking about decentralization and centralization, again, when you're building on Ton, and you're, of course, discussing more to the side of decentralized products, what's your vision? Do you think centralized all the way or DeFi all the way? Where do you stand?
I stand at the CeFi. So it won't work like one way or another completely, because we have regulation, we have MiCA coming, we have stable coin legislation in the United States, and you just like, unless you become like 100% shady and under the radar with anonymous team, with everything like truly anarchy, like, or crypto anarchy style, it won't work. So where we are going at is into merging DeFi with CeFi, and this CeFi is something that is actually already happening, because even under, let's say, like top stable coins, there are US bonds under the hood, which provide you some yield. So we have to, we are, and that's what we are doing at Bemo. We keep an eye on latest developments of the legislation and being focused mostly on the institutional side of the market. We know for sure that at some point you have to, let's say, provide one with opportunity to stake their assets into this particular validator node, into this particular region, because otherwise they won't be compliant. So that won't work any other way. There are even some KYC, KYB procedures that are being able to be executed on chain. So you do not necessarily need to show your face or something. You can have this under the hood.
KYC on chain is the dream that we want to have. But it's funny how you mentioned CeFi, because that's what I was going with for my second question, because you actually answered that question, because again, we have stable coins, and stable coins are like part of the 95% of all transactions worldwide for crypto. And if it wasn't for stable coins, we wouldn't be here with that adoption that crypto has received over time. And again, it just shows you that it cannot work without decentralized sites. So CeFi is actually the right way to go. But one thing that I wanted to ask you about compliance, which was also my next question, you managed to knock that out of the park again, because when you keep an eye out on regulation, when you mention US, when you mention Europe, and when you mention all these different approaches in terms of regulation for crypto, I think it's like a limbo, because again, you have to have this like central figure that gives the beacon of light for everyone else to follow. And Mike is not doing that the best way it could. Some might argue, but I think there's room for growth. I'm not necessarily hating on it. The US is having an internal battle with it. BlackRock is acquiring all the Bitcoin in the world, but still you have all these regulatory battles with the SEC and CFTC. But where do you think the crypto regulation goes next? Do you think it's going to find home in a place like Dubai, Bahrain, or Singapore is probably going to be like the next big crypto hub?
Well, I would say it already landed in Dubai. So there are special economic zones. There is some legislation. They even have an officially approved version of on-chain dirham, which is already there. And that
is that like CBDC?
I'm not quite sure whether it's necessarily a CBDC. I believe so. I haven't studied that, but that's official. Yeah, that's not a side project from someone. It's like government based. Yeah.
But yeah, I've never been to Dubai. That's why I'm asking that question, because again, if I go there and I see a lot of RWAs, token utilization, you can do so much with crypto. You can actually use like a crypto card to pay, for groceries or buying things like that, which I imagine already is put in place in a place like Dubai. But still, the question was about the next big regulatory hub for crypto. So right now we have a very wide range of places people go to for building their projects. Not a place like America, but still America is, most of the people that use crypto are in America, obviously. And people still build there, even with all the complications that come with it. So if I was a founder and I thought, okay, these regulatory bodies are having an intense battle over what is right and what is wrong, I would not take a risk to go there. But what would be the place for me to thrive? Do you think that would be Dubai, right?
That depends on if you have enough money to get your legal in place, to get all the necessary licenses and everything, then you definitely should pick a residency somewhere like Dubai or whatever, even Europe maybe, where it's already in place. Like the rules are in front of you, you just have to like obey. If not, which is a case for most of the beginning companies, you should start somewhere where otherwise it's not settled down yet, which is mostly like offshore locations, etc. Getting back to your question about whether a shift should happen, probably I would put it this way. Surprisingly, if nothing bad happens like overall, I would say that could probably be United States, because they are already regulated very nicely. And if you see the latest cases that SEC had against like some particular companies, they are either held or like they are over. So even staking is now okay. Not liquid staking, but staking overall is okay. So just a few steps and you will have any kind of protocol covered, and it seems to be way lighter and softly framed rather than in Europe. So we see that a lot of teams are deciding to like shift from Europe to somewhere that could be United States,
or open their company somewhere on an island.
Yeah, that's a way. Actually,
Near the
that's
US,
completely legal, and
Yeah.
even for United States, it's fine unless you treat United States citizens in a certain way.
Yeah, of course. But the ultimate goal is to have the least amount of risks, because you don't want to be closed up by a regulatory body for existing and actually being able to exist in a country, but then bam, something snaps and now it's something you cannot do.
Yeah, but that depends on the nature of the product.
Yeah.
Because you may not necessarily have a token.
Yeah.
You could
That's
be
true.
an infrastructure protocol with no token at all.
Yeah, we don't have a token. We just provide a service for exchanging one token to another and actually selling and buying crypto. So that kind of puts us in a neutral position because we're also an aggregator.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
That's what it doesn't like completely make you invulnerable, but at least it's different. So that's why I say, if you have resources, then there are a lot of legal teams already very savvy on what's going on, keeping an eye on like latest updates and everything. They pick your exact scenario and say, hey, you just do like this and this, and you're gonna be like mostly safe.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. I kind of want to take the conversation back to Bemo. And you mentioned staking and liquid staking. I'm not the most technical guy, and I don't even actually trade crypto because I'm kind of scared of getting heavily into it, and then next morning I wake up and I realize I just dumped all my all my assets into something that I believed in. But then again, yeah, everyone has a different approach to crypto. But for your average crypto user that only buys, sells sometimes, or just happens to be like a skeptic, what's the difference between staking, liquid staking, and could you give us like an elevator pitch for Bemo again? So the main product is this. What does it do? And here's the benefit.
So the one liner gonna be the following: you can still get your rewards for having Ton and helping to make Ton secure by staking your Ton in the consensus, and still getting your rewards and still having your token as a liquid asset. So that's what essentially Bemo and any other liquid staking provider does.
Wait, so I'm able to use my assets still, but they're also staking?
Yeah, that was the idea and the concept behind the LSTs. So Lido was not the first one, but one of those who drive that adoption, and the market should be grateful for that, because this is a huge thing, and there are already many more layers, including restaking and some other crazy stuff on top of that. But basically what is happening here is that any POS network requires some certain amount of its core assets to be stored as a prove that you're gonna act as a validator, as a okay, let's like put it as simple as possible. So to make blockchain work, you need many computers calculating all the transactions and putting things together into this next block. So if there is no punishment, one can just simply add its own transaction or behave like, or just stop working, whatever.
Great example is Ethereum staking.
Exactly. Yeah. So in proof of work concept, it's like heavy calculations that are executed.
Raw computing power is what you need.
Yeah. And for POS, proof of stake network, it's a certain amount of assets that you put on risk. If you do something wrong, if you do not work, if you do not respond in time, etc., you get a punishment and you lose part of that stake.
I once saw an interesting take on the proof of stake people that stake, calling those people good boys because they never misbehave.
Yeah.
Because they can get punished. But yeah, very interesting concept with liquid staking, and I'm kind of keen to try it. Because again, when we're doing research for the podcasts, for the videos, I've tried so many products. I tried to book a hotel with crypto.
Okay.
Yeah, just to see how it works. It actually did work, but it was very limited with the countries that you could do it with. And I'm certainly not flying 4,000 kilometers to get to the other country just to test out a transaction for it. But very interesting use case nonetheless. But where does Bemo Finance go next? And what are your key goals for improving it, making it better, or attracting more attention?
Sure. One thing, it's not like right in the roadmap. It takes some time because of many actors involved, but what I dream of is that that liquid staking solution is what we just discussed, and you have an LST, a BM ton, like in return when you put your ton there, it is working, it is getting some rewards for making the blockchain secure.
Wait, I'm sorry for interrupting, but it's like putting your money into an economy.
Exactly, and that's what I wanted to say. I love to compare that with banking.
Yeah.
The only difference is in banking, you do not really know what's happening to your money.
Yeah.
And here...
And you don't really own your money, because if it's in a bank, you can get your account closed.
Exactly.
And that's why the dream of Bitcoin was born. But yeah.
Exactly. So here you have everything on chain and transparent. While you hold your keys, is the only one responsible for that asset. And you put it there. If you decide to get out of there, then you can either wait for unbonding period and get it back, or because of DeFi, you can just swap it and make it in a second. So for banking, like allegory is something that you have an asset and you have some reward, some return on that. But here is a proof of stake network which provides you with that reward. And this is like completely understandable. Banking does some schemes and you cannot always control, you can almost never control what's really going on there. And you depend on many factors. So that's why I like comparing it. So the thing that I would very much love to happen is to get a banking card where you have your LSTs, your BM ton as an underlying asset. And when you pay with it, you have them converted into stables, whatever. But if you do not touch it, they are sitting there providing you with that reward, which you completely understand. And which is more important, at any given moment, you can withdraw them.
Yeah. But I just wish you could use it everywhere, just like you could use banking.
Banking card is something you can use everywhere. And that's where CeFi comes into play.
Yes, that's actually making a lot of sense, because again, a lot of people in the world have money just sitting around. Of course, there is a disclaimer before each episode that this is not financial advice. Absolutely. But we're just making a comparison. Imagine your money just sits in a safe somewhere. It's cash. Yeah, you feel good about it. It's there with you. But a lot of other people also keep their money in a bank.
Yep.
And we know the many things that a bank can do. I'm not even going to go into the topic of a bank getting robbed or the national currency being devalued wherever in some cases, but still crypto has become this like lifeline for many countries, especially like third world countries that use it. And not even going to the extent of that benefit of crypto, liquid staking essentially means that there is no difference for your money being on liquid staking or just in your bank account or in your safe deposit. But the biggest pro of having it in liquid staking is the fact that it's going to be used in the economy. It's going to be supporting that economy, and that's kind of like the right way to build an economy too, which is like the most easy comparison that I can make. And I'm behind that train. Of course, I always advocate for crypto adoption. Yeah, I think it's amazing. I can't even come up with the next question because I just keep thinking about it. I keep thinking about all the benefits, and I'm kind of losing my journalistic professionalism here. Sorry about that, but I do have to give praise where it needs to be because having done that due diligence, having delivered that product, making it work the way it does, it's just amazing. So I cannot be more happy for you, and I'm going to wish you the best of luck.
Thanks. Bemo has a great team, and this is like kind of like ideal scenario. Like it's a big vision. There are a lot of like more geeky stuff to deliver, but they depend a lot on what is going to happen in the Ton ecosystem overall.
Yeah, because you rely on it, of course.
Absolutely. There is restaking part that I've mentioned. There is also some kind of a transaction marketplace which we can deliver depending on how this execution will be held on the blockchain side. So there are many things that depend on the DeFi overall. So the LST, even the core function of Ton being staked, liquidly staked, not staked, but liquidly staked, is whether it could be somehow utilized later on. Because if there is no utility, if there is no DEX, you can swap it to get some liquidity to jump off if you need it like this immediately. Or you can lend or borrow against it, or you can play around some other sophisticated strategies which do not really exist on Ton right now. True. You can make just only like 2-3 hops, but in like ETH space, I've seen strategies of like 20 steps. It's amazing. So I may rant a bit about the Ton.
Absolutely.
So the first thing is we are keeping an eye on what's going on there. So we are, despite of the fact the market is flat right now, we keep on building. We had postponed the TGE because of the market condition, which is like definitely not something.
I have to say the politics in the world right now are not in the best place.
To be honest, it's not just only about politics. It's about like local politics for Ton, about like global politics, everything, a lot of things.
But they all depend on each other. And that's the bad part about it.
Yeah.
So I once saw a meme of a guy sitting there thinking, I just now saw some green candles, and now some 80-year-old people are having a feud, and it's all going red. It was really funny. I was commuting to work and I was thinking, I can't stop laughing about it. My cheeks started hurting because of it. But one thing you mentioned with Bemo, with liquid staking, this is a new product essentially. And when you really think about it, crypto is still very young. So it has been around for almost 2 decades, which is still for something that has so many users, like around 500 million users in crypto worldwide. It's still an amazing growth, and that growth is going to keep on going. And you were talking about the things that might prevent the growth of liquid staking, why people might not use it, because again, it all depends on the politics around the world. It depends on the ecosystem itself, and it depends on Ton. It depends on the internal politics even. But if you focus on the good side, it might actually gain big popularity. Yep. It might become something that the next million people are just going to come in. It might explode, and the price might go up, and the people that are going to come in, they're going to be thinking, oh, I'm just reaping rewards for nothing. Essentially, I just happen to make a few right clicks, just like, people that mined Bitcoin back in 2012, just like them, we could actually be in this space. So I say we focus on the positive side, and I think that's going to be the end of it. So I want to give you your last word, because Bemo has obviously been an amazing product. I heard your elevator speech. I enjoyed it a lot, and I think with all of the skepticism that I have for using crypto products, because again, my kind of narrative is stay safe, don't get scammed. You have to make sure you check all the boxes, and even then, make sure you're not too quick to jump to conclusions or click any buttons. But I do have to say I enjoyed your elevator speech, and I think I'm behind it. I think I kind of support it, because when you see so many things happening in the crypto space, it's very difficult to pinpoint something that makes you interested, especially me, because I have to search so many companies daily, as guests for the podcast, as research for the videos. And I do have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed hearing about Bemo. So any last word to the audience? What would you say?
Well, I can totally agree with you. Let's stay positive. This market, I've seen like a lot of this, and that happens all the way through. So you have to understand fundamentals, and Bemo is not like about a sudden growth, about something like this. No, it's infrastructure protocol. Yes. It's about making Ton healthy. It's about building a protocol with healthy expectations of rewards. You understand where they come from, and you just keep on building, like no matter what is going out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, and your pitch is not 100x your assets by tomorrow. Absolutely. So yeah, that was actually a very good last message. And my last message, as always, will be to stay safe. Make sure you're doing your research, your due diligence, and not falling for scams. Thank you for watching this episode, and thank you, Konstantin, for joining us today. It was a pleasure. And
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Take care.
Cheers.